Hello guys, in this video I will show you how to create events using scriptable objects. This is a bit more advanced topic, but when you master it, it can be very useful. Let's quickly see why would you even use events. Imagine that a player dies, you would need to do a lot of follow-up actions. You would need to disable input controls, maybe show some UI, stop or change music, notify enemies that the player is dead and so on. Managing all of that from a single script can be difficult. You would need to connect the player health class with all other classes. Connecting scripts in such a way creates unnecessary dependencies and it's not manageable in real projects. This would quickly become a spaghetti mess. So how to avoid those connections? You have only one guess: events. In this tutorial, I will use scriptable objects to create event system. If you want to learn more about events without scriptable objects, I have another great tutorial, so check it out if you want. In this case, we will choose another approach and use scriptable objects. Let me show you what we will create. When the player dies, I will disable controls and show some UI text using scriptable object events. This is just one example, possibilities are endless. To create this system we need two scripts: game event and game event listener. Game event needs to be a scriptable object. To easily create scriptable objects in Unity editor, we need to use the attribute createAsset menu. Then let's create a list of game event listener objects. Next, we need a public function to register a listener. Just add it to the list. Of course, we also need a function that will remove the listener from the list. Now let's go to the game event listener script. Notice that this class is monobehavior, which means we will need to attach this script to a game object. Here we will use Unity events, so let's include the events namespace. We need one public game event scriptable object, call it event. Then we need a public Unity event which I call response. Unity event response will determine what will happen when scriptable object game event is raised. So this game event listener will listen for the game event, and when it is raised or fired, then activate response. We need to register this listener to the list. Inside onEnable, let's use event.registerListener and pass this class. Remember, this is the function that will add a listener to the list. And inside onDisable, we will remove the listener from the list. We need one more public void function onEventRaised. It will invoke Unity event, so write response.invoke. Let's go back to the game event scriptable object. Here we need to add a public void raise function. It will use the for loop to go through the list of listeners. It's important to go through the list from behind to avoid errors. You can get errors if you start from 0 and remove listeners from the list. The index will go out of range. Then for every listener, we call onEventRaised. That function will invoke Unity event response. Let's go to Unity. With right-click, Create, we can create game event scriptable objects. Let's call this endGame. In the same way, we can create more scriptable objects that will represent some events. For example, this can be Start First Cutscene event. We will use endGame. The next step is to introduce listeners which will listen to that event. You can place the listener on any game object. Sometimes it's a good idea to use one empty game object. So add the game event listener script. This listener will listen to end game. Drag the scriptable object. Then determine what will be the response. First, drag in the player. On the player controls script, I have a function that will disable controls. Make sure that you set the event to runtime only. Then we can add another response. Drag in the UI text. It's disabled by default, and here we will enable it. Just note that you can have more listeners for one event if you need it. The last thing we need to do is to raise the event. We want to do it when the player dies, so I will go to the player health script, include the event's namespace, create a public Unity event which I call death event. When the health is 0 or below, invoke that event. In Unity, make sure that event is set to runtime. Then drag the scriptable object and game. We want to use the raise function that will notify all listeners. Let's try it. The player will die. I can't move anymore, and you can see the UI text. And that is how you can combine Unity events and scriptable objects. Have a nice day and see you in the next video.